Hello everybody and welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Esther Wanjiko Mongai. I'm a literature lecturer and also a PhD literature student. I chose to open this online platform in order to share different educative content and specifically on literature topics. And so I'll be uploading literature contents at least twice in a week. And if you are a literature student or even a scholar who wants to learn more, to get to know more, to acquire more knowledge, this is a platform whereby you can get to learn and acquire new insight in the field of literature. And so I decided to create this video as a way of introducing my channel to you, and so to keep you alert if you're interested in the literature contents. And so for the first unit, maybe I can give a brief on the first content that you're going to look at. After this content, that is, I'll be looking at literature, that is Kenyan literature, and critical reading and response. So those are two major topics that I'll be looking at as a way of actually introducing the literature, introducing you to the field of literature, that is. Okay, and so the first thing, or the first major thing that I'll address in the next video, I'll address critical reading and response. So get that right, critical reading and response. That's what I'll be addressing on. And in critical reading and response, basically that one you get to actually get a new insight or new knowledge on the critical analysis of literature. How do you go about analyzing a text? Yeah, you being a reader, in order to now to be called a critic reader, because you're actually criticizing the text of your own choice. And so in critical reading and response, I tend to believe, and which is actually a fact, it is one of the units that actually are taken to be the first unit for the first years, because it introduces the learners to the literature, to the issue of analyzing text. They get to get the methodology of analyzing a text even before they get to these other units that follow later. So that is to do with the critical reading and response. Well, it is a huge unit on its own, because for this content, like the way I determined to look at it, I'll look at it in portion for you to be able to actually understand literature, for you to get interested in literature, because for the unit itself, it's supposed to help you to have an easier time, for you to have understanding of literature itself. So it's supposed to be interesting in order for the other units, or in other words, in order for the other topics as they come along, for you to be able to understand. What do I mean by that, other topics? I'm talking of topics like West African literature, topics like poetry. And so when you're able to actually critically read a text and to respond to a text critically, it means that you can be able to tackle any literature concept. For instance, now what I've just mentioned, I've talked of West African literature. That is a unit in itself being studied in the university. Yeah, West African literature and poetry and others. Yeah, as we move on, and that one actually reminds me of this unit also called Kenyan literature. That one will be the next topic that we'll be looking at after critical reading and response. And maybe you might be asking yourself, why Kenyan literature? The reason is one, on top of critical reading and response being a unit that is highly recommended as the first unit for the first year students to be able to study it, Kenyan literature is also another unit that is taken as the first unit to be studied, that is in literature subject. Now, when it comes to Kenyan literature, you need to understand your literature first before you study other literature, yeah, or what other society represent or is being represented by others from outside our country here in Kenya. So I'm actually based in Kenya, so maybe you might be asking yourself, Kenya, why Kenyan literature? I'm based from Kenya being a country in specifically in East African and in African continent. So we have to understand our own literature first before we study other literature that surrounds us. And that is why we start with Kenyan literature, because it introduces the learner or you, the scholar out there, to be able to understand we also have our own literature. I hope that one is understood. And basically, that is it. So we'll be looking at the 2 units. I chose to start with the 2 units. I'll start with critical reading and response, and then from critical reading and response, we look at Kenyan literature. Okay, so I do believe that in these units, you'll be able to get massive content and knowledge that can help you to understand those texts as you're reading them, that can help you to go to an exam room and have an answer to those questions when you're asked by the examiner. Take for instance, maybe you're in the university, whichever university that you're in, if you're having these units being handled by your lecturer, at least you'll have a plus in this content, yeah, in this platform, that is. And apart from that, one thing with literature, as I make this, in addition to this introduction that I'm making, one thing with literature, these units borrow from each other. So it doesn't mean that the unit that, like now, for instance, if I talk of critical reading and response, or for instance, let me just talk of Kenyan literature, that is, it doesn't mean that when you sit down and get some concept on Kenyan literature, you kind of that is close to just that content of that unit. I hope you're together. That is, the moment you read about a unit in literature, it helps you to be able to understand more about another unit. So these units, you find that, or rather these subjects, these literature subjects, borrow from each other. They kind of tie together, and that is one thing that learners don't actually know. Yeah, you find yourself finishing a unit in a semester, Like now, take for instance what I've just mentioned, these 2 units, critical reading and response and Kenyan literature. Both of them, you can find them being handled in one semester, and then in the next semester you may think that you're done with them, so I'm moving on to the next semester, but that's not the case. You find that these units, you will need them as you move on. You will need to refer to these notes. Why? They give you a blueprint to what you're actually studying at the moment. They give you a hint. They help you to understand more. And for literature, in literature we say that you need to learn more. You need to be a person who is more knowledgeable, because the more you learn and the more you acquire, the more you learn, that is, the more you read, the more you acquire more knowledge. During the exam, you'll have more content to deliver, yeah, unlike when you're not well read. So that is to do with the introduction to this channel. I wanted to introduce this channel for you as my reader or my audience out there. Yeah, I've talked of reader because you're actually reading and listening. As my listener, as my audience outside there, I want to introduce you to this channel. It is a channel whereby you're going to learn a lot in your own free time. You can choose to actually upload these videos and get to acquire more knowledge. With that, what you're actually saying is I want to actually help learners out there to be able to understand literature, not taking it as a subject which is just a formal subject, but a subject which is interesting, a subject which is supposed to be interesting, to show you that you have chosen literature, you have taken literature, and you are not in the wrong direction. Maybe I can put it that way. You're not in the wrong direction. You've done a right decision. Your decision was right. Yeah, because it is easy. I always tell my students, literature is an easy subject. Because why? It is you. It is you. It is what surrounds you. It is the environment. It is the society. You're reading texts where the authors, the poets, have borrowed from the society. They can be their own experiences or borrowing direct from what is happening in the society. It can be fictional or non-fiction. So imagine it's that easy. And narrowing it down, it being put down in paper form or even drama, plays, whatever form, whatever genre of literature, it surrounds us and it's supposed to be interesting. Actually, literature, if you're taking this unit in campus, it's supposed to be a walk in the park. It's supposed to be a walk in the park. Yeah, it's supposed to be interest to you, to the sense that the other units, maybe they're the ones which make you to sit down and read and maybe do some brainstorming. But when it comes to literature is a subject that's supposed to be in your entire life, a subject that is part of you. So it is within you, it's part of you, so you should be interested with it. So I want to help learners out there, to help my audience out there, not limited to the learners alone. Even you can find a scholar who wants to know more about literature. So I want to help my audience out there you who is taking literature, follow this content as I post it now, here and there, maybe twice in a week. But I'll try my best at least twice in a week, or even thrice, as we move on. So at your own free time, just follow these videos and look at some of this content that I upload in this channel. So, and then another thing also, share with your friends. So what happens is, on top of what your lecturer is giving you in class, at your own free time, you can have a look at these. We're living in the 21st century, whereby we have gadgets around us, all around us. So what you need is just a gadget, and sit down and listen. In literature is not like the science subjects per se. What you just need to do is to understand, and that is what I always tell my learners: understand. Don't go brainstorming your mind in literature units. We don't do that. We understand, because basically what you're being taught in class when it comes to literature, basically literature entails you being able as a critic to be able to analyze a text. So it's not a matter of you cramming that text. It's a matter of you being able to read the text systematically, and then when it comes to analyzing, not actually putting it down as it is placed by the author, but now interpreting that text in the sense that how does that text fit in the society, or what is the response. And that is what we'll be looking at: critical reading and response. So you need to respond to the text. It's not a matter of you just picking, borrowing and pasting. That is copy and pasting. We don't do that. We analyze a text, and the moment you're able to analyze a text, you'll have an easier time. And that is basically what I've been talking about. If you're not able to get the concept of analyzing a text, you have a hard time even when it comes to reading other texts. So you need to get number one, get that concept of analyzing a text, because basically that is literature. In all the units you find the examiners asking you using a text of your choice. Blah blah blah. Analyze the theme of psychoanalytic theory. Using psychoanalytic theory, analyze a text of your own choice, or something like that. So every question ties up to you analyzing a text. So that is it to do with the introduction. I was just trying to introduce this platform in order for you to be able to follow content after content. So I've said that I'll be uploading literature content at least twice in a week. So in order to be notified on a content, kindly subscribe to this channel, like, and also share with a friend. So thank you for watching, and let's meet in the next video.